Okay, it's one of the more exciting days for me, at least anyway, of the NFL offseason. Schedule release day. Some of this stuff had already come out. We already knew a few of the Viking games. But I'll just kind of go game by game and give some thoughts, just general stuff. So we're opening up at home, the KOC era. We're opening up at home against Green Bay Packers in a late afternoon game too. Um, nothing like throwing the rookie coach into the fire. I mean, but that could be a good thing because I think we know what to expect from Green Bay more than they know what to expect from us. But yeah, that's going to be a big one right off the bat. And if you win that game, you're immediately announcing yourself as, hey, we are competition for the Packers. Even though we have beaten the Packers once each of the last couple of years, but we win that game. That's gonna be a big start. And then we're going week 2 at Philly on Monday night. Don't know what the Eagles are going to be. Eagles might be okay, but I would certainly think that's a winnable game. Obviously, that's a tough environment. We've seen Vikings teams go in there and not fare so well. It's giving me flashbacks because they went week 2 at Philly Monday Night Football once before back in '04, and we kind of got our ass kicked, and that kind of set the whole season off in a bad way. But it helps that that's our only true road game for the first like 6 weeks or something like that. Um, so then, after the Philly game, then we're back home. We get Detroit week 3. You know, obviously the two Detroit games last year were really fucking frustrating. Even the win was obviously really frustrating. Don't know what to expect really from that. It'll be the first game, with fuck, I don't even remember the guy's name, the receiver that they took that everyone's convinced is going to Canton because we didn't draft him. Um, but obviously that's a home game against a team you certainly think you're better than. That should be a win. Um, and then the other one that had come out week 4, we're going to London to face the Saints, and that's a Saints home game technically. So we're not losing a home game. Um, so it helps that one of our road games isn't really a road game, like it's a neutral site. And we are undefeated in in London. We beat the Browns back in 17 and Pittsburgh in 13, I think. So hey, hey, let's go for 3-0. And then we're not getting a bye after the London game, which I guess has happened for teams before, but you know typically you get the bye after the London game, but we're not getting one. But we are getting a home game against the Bears, which is about as close as we can get to a bye. I know that could be words that come back to haunt me, but you know, you should win that. I mean, the Bears. I gotta think the Bears are gonna be the last place team in the division this year, or at least battling out with the Lions. But that's a game you should win. So you got all 3 of your division home games out of the way in the first 5 weeks. So if you start strong, like you're immediately, you've got that little bit of an edge. Then looking at this, then we go to the Dolphins week after that. Again, I think that's going to be a winnable game. Miami's not a pushover, but they're not great either. Um, So, God, we haven't won in Miami. I don't even know when the last time we would have been where we won in Miami. I don't. I can't even imagine the last time we won in Miami. It's been a long time. I know we haven't won in Miami since realignment, because this would only be our third trip there, and I know we didn't win the last two. It's a while since we've won down there. And then we get our bye, which is kind of early. It's not. I mean, it would be obviously earlier if we had the bye after London, but you know, it's not like a crazy early bye. But I think in general, I prefer the later bye. But you know, some years you get it, some years you get it, some years you don't. There's nothing you can do about it. Um, but it's not like crazy late or early. So whatever. And then last game of October, we got Cardinals here. That'll be kind of an interesting one because who knows what the Cardinals are. The Cardinals went last year from looking like a Super Bowl contender to barely making the playoffs and then getting just blown out in the playoffs. So who knows what that's going to be? But that's a home game. That's a home game. You should win that. November is probably where the schedule's the toughest. You got. You go on the road to face the Commanders. That'll be the big, Kirk returns to Washington. I'm sure that'll be the storyline on that one. But Washington has been decent last few years, but I mean that's a winnable road game. I mean I don't see why you shouldn't at least have a shot to win that game. And that's arguably their easiest game of the month. Then they got back-to-back road games. Then they have probably the toughest game, either that or at Packers. Toughest game on the schedule. They got to go to Buffalo to face the Bills, who, if I had to pick right this moment, I would probably pick to win the Super Bowl. That's obviously going to be a really tough game to win. It'll be the first Diggs versus the Vikings game. I'm certainly not going to say we don't have a shot. And of course, we're well into the season by this point. Who knows what's going to be going on with the two teams? But that's going to be a tough one. But whatever. And then week after that, hey, guess what? We get to host the Dallas Cowboys again. So I don't know who Dallas's backup quarterback is going to be going him to this year, but he'll probably end up starting. So I mean the Dallas home games have been arguably the biggest kicks in the teeth that we've had the last 2 years, and obviously different coach, so can kind of wipe that slate clean a little bit, but you got to win this one. Dan Dallas could be good, but you got to win this one. You gotta set it right. You can't let Dallas walk in here again for the third year in a row and beat you. You just can't do it. Then after that, hey, guess what? We get to play on Thanksgiving again. We played on Thanksgiving 2 years in a row in 16 and 17. And this time we get to host a game on Thanksgiving for, I assume, the first time ever. Going back, many years, but I assume it's the first time ever. We're hosting the dreaded New England Patriots. So I guess I'm going to be eating a very early Thanksgiving dinner on that day. So we get the primetime game. Obviously the first time Patriots have been in here in 8 years. Last time they played here was at TCF Stadium, and they blew us out. That was just awful game where Matt Castle threw like 4 picks and looked like the worst quarterback in the history of football. And that was that was Zimmer's second game, so that's how long it's been since the Patriots have been in town. But I mean, hey, you can win that game. So so November's tough, but I think you should be expected to win 3 of those games. But if you split, that's not going to be too bad. And then we turn page. If I can turn the page to December. December is much easier on paper anyway. We start out, we're hosting the Jets. Jets probably will be one of the worst teams in the NFL once again. Again, it's also their first trip here in 8 years. Their last game here was the OT game at TCF where Teddy hit Jarius Wright for the like an 80-yard touchdown in overtime. Percy Harvin was with the Jets at the time. It's a long time ago, man, 8 years. But that should be not a lock win, but you should definitely expect to win that game. Hopefully, it's not like a trap game after these higher profile games, but you also have an extra little bit of time to prepare. So I would certainly expect that to be a win. Then you go to Detroit. You go hopefully get revenge for maybe the second biggest or maybe the biggest kick in the teeth loss from last year. But again, that I don't expect the Lions to be very good, so that should be you should win that. You should win that. Don't take them lightly. Then you come home, you're playing the Colts. Colts could go either way. They got Matt Ryan now. Who knows if he's got anything left? They should be a decent team. Yeah, I guess we haven't beaten the Colts since '97. We haven't beaten the Colts since the Colts' last game that they played before they drafted Peyton Manning. That's kind of a long time. But you're at home. Like, almost every game so far, I'm like, yeah, you're not going to win all of them, but you definitely could win and should win. Then on Christmas Eve day, another holiday that they're gonna consume. We host the Giants. Giants also should be pretty bad. So those are your December games. You could run the table in December. If they win anything less than 3 in December, that's going to be very disappointing. And then the 2 games when we flip it to January, New Year's Day, we're playing the Packers in Green Bay, and then finish up at Chicago. So that's the part of the schedule that I don't like. I don't like having to go back to back at Green Bay and at Chicago in like the dead of winter in January. And obviously, Soldier Field curse. Look, we've actually won in Soldier Field a couple times now, but it's never fun. That last year was the one where Kirk threw for like 80 yards and we had to grind out a win. And obviously, the game in Green Bay was the Sean Mannion game, so we don't even count that shit. But hopefully you get to that point. Obviously at Green Bay in week 17, that could be for the division. So that could even be like a flex Sunday night football game. And then obviously God, I have PTSD forever with Soldier Field games. I've seen too much over the last 20 years. I know we've won a couple games. We've actually won a couple in a row in Chicago. But even when we win in Chicago, it's just a grind. It's just an awful experience. So hopefully, by the time we get to week 17, we'll have played 9 home games and a neutral site game. So hopefully we'll have already, we'll have played 9 home games, 1 neutral site, and 4 true road games. Yeah, 5 true road games. I'm getting all mixed up here. But point is, we'll kind of have had a front-loaded schedule a little bit.
And have you ever wondered
So
what a black hole
hopefully
actually looks like
we've
out there in
accumulated
space?
enough
Well,
wins that
scientists
we
are now
don't
giving us
need
a look with some pretty
desperately to
incredible
win
images to
either of
match.
those last games to either maybe win a division or get in the playoffs or whatever.
Do you feel
Um,
helpless? Yeah, definitely.
I thought the schedule was going to be pretty favorable anyway, because
There's nothing
you know the
new about
opponents
it.
and where you're playing them, but
Maybe.
like
Immoral, possibly.
it's not that tough a schedule, and we don't know yet. Like the big unknown to this point is Kevin O'Connell a good game coach? I have every reason to think that he's going to be pretty good, but we don't know yet. Um, there's game. You look at this schedule in previous years and you're like, oh, that could be the game that trips us up. Well, maybe it'll be different with a new coach, but I think that I don't know. Like you look at the schedule and like, oh, how many games would they be favored right now? And I mean, God, what games would they be underdogs? Maybe the two Packer games, probably um, probably Buffalo, and maybe Dallas. And obviously things change as the season goes on. But going in, like, I'm sorry, I know I'm always the eternal optimist with the Vikings. I really think they can win like 11, 12 games. If they have reason, just a reasonable health and and if KOC can coach in games, which I think he can, I expect him to be able to do that. Like, there's the schedule's not that daunting, and I think it's especially favorable like early on, which helps with a new coach because I think you know you know if you're kind of you know figuring out how to coach in games, you'd rather be playing games against teams like the Lions and the Bears and the Saints, who I don't think are going to be particularly good, but you know by the time the schedule gets harder in like November and then at the end of the season there, I think we'll know what we've got in KOC, and I think this team is really good. I think they have a lot of talent, and I expect the talent that they have to be better utilized with with KOC than it was being utilized with Zimmer, and I think that should be the expectation. I think the expectation for this team, obviously step one is make the playoffs, but I think like like not just like make the playoffs and just get in and be like, hey, we made the playoffs. That's all it needs. No, like make the playoffs and like be a threat. Be like formidable in the playoffs, and I think they can do that. And I think they have the kind of schedule that can also help them to grab a couple extra wins. And again, we have to acknowledge teams could be better, because a year ago, basically right now, every Vikings fan was looking at the schedule and like, hey, we're playing the lowly Cincinnati Bengals in week one. Well, that's going to be an easy win. We didn't know. Of course, should have been a win because Talbot was down. And I'll never let that go. But you never know for sure if a quote unquote easy win on your schedule is going to be easy, because teams do pop up. Maybe a team like even the Jets are going to be better than we think, or the Lions better than we think. And on the flip side, maybe some teams will be worse than we think. But it's good to get the dates assigned to these games and know what's going on. So I'm ready. I guess the preseason. I don't know if they put out the exact schedule, but the preseason opponents are out. We're gonna. I guess we only have one home game this year. It's going to be against the 49ers, and we're going to have like practices during camp with them. We did that last year with Denver, I think. We're playing Denver and the Raiders, I think, on the road. So, and that's preseason. every year preseason gets worse and worse. But you know, I think once the real games kick off, we're going to be good. I really do. And everyone's going to doubt it because we're going to get all. It's going to happen. We're never going to get all the same crap about Kirk. Trust me. Every time we have a primetime game, we got a Monday Night Football game week 2. You know what we're going to hear all all week leading up to that game is the Monday Night Football record. Doesn't matter. But I think the schedule.
Most importantly, it's already
shapes up pretty well for us. And like I'm eternally optimistic about the Vikings. I think they can get this thing done this year. And be a real contender, not just like, oh, we're gonna sneak into the playoffs. I think they can be a real contender. And I can't wait for week 1 with the damn cheeseheads coming to town. Let's just let's kick their ass and start piling up the W's.